Welcome into the NFL opening line report Monday, October 5th, NFL Week 5. He's Teddy Covers. I am Drew Martin. Teddy, welcome in. Happy Monday morning to you.
Hey, great to be here. And thanks for sticking around, guys. I apologize. We're probably going to be about 5 minutes late a lot of Mondays. I do another show from 9 to like 9:55, and I need a couple of minutes to transition in between. So we appreciate your patience. Like I said, we should start, I'm hoping, by 10:05 Pacific time every Monday without too much difficulties. How are you doing this morning, Drew?
I'm doing good. Overall, a fun weekend in college and NFL football. And I'll tell you, a lot of people loving the show. Love to hear it on Twitter at Teddy_covers, at Drew Martin Bets, at Sports Memo, at WagerTalk. It all works, guys. And really appreciate everybody coming in at 10:05 a.m. Pacific time. We said it there. So, Teddy, we should be okay going forward with everybody kind of getting the message. But overall, Teddy, I'm doing good. And we got actually 2 Monday night football games here, something that I think the NFL should do more regularly, if not every single Monday, instead of, stacking it up 10, 1 o'clock Eastern kicks, maybe do 9, 1 o'clock Eastern kicks and do 2 Monday nighters. Not sure how you feel about that. And also, do you want to get after the Atlanta Green Bay tonight at all? Any quick thoughts?
So I'm not in action on either game at the current lines. We'll see what happens between now and kickoff. I was modest. Really, I wasn't that tempted by Atlanta Plus. We've seen the money move to Atlanta Plus. If you read the post-game quotes for the Falcons, they're a team that's waiting for the other shoe to drop. And that concerns me. But boy, that Packers injury report tonight is really ugly. Let me run through some of it for you. They'll be missing their starting center. They'll be missing their, obviously, Lane Taylor's been out at the guard position. They have injuries at tackle as well on the offensive line. But from the wide receiver position, their top 2 receivers, Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard, both going to be out. Mercedes Lewis going to be out tonight for Green Bay. So they will be significantly shorthanded in the matchup against the must-win Falcons. I understand all the Atlanta money. I understand all the over money. If I had a free bet on the game, I'd probably play under. And friends don't let friends play unders right now. So it's hard to play unders in the NFL. At this stage, it really is, especially, and how well Aaron Rodgers has thrown the football around. Even without any receivers, he might still be able to throw the football around this Falcons defense. And I'm not excited to play any Falcons game under the total. So that one for me is a fairly easy pass. Patriots Chiefs. If Stidham was the quarterback, maybe I'd look at New England. I'm saying Hoyer's going to start.
You're not a Hoyer fan.
I'm not a Hoyer fan, and I'm not a Hoyer fan in an offense that's been designed for a dual threat quarterback.
Yeah.
What's the strength of Kansas City defensively? They have only one strength, but it's a good strength. They rush the passer. And if you have a statue back there and you can't run the football, it might be a long night for New England. I had my fun stepping in front of Kansas City last week. I'm not doing it again. That said, Belichick plus points has been gold. Belichick plus double digits has been as gold gets. I'm certainly not looking to fade a coach with this type of a track record. And again, if you want to play an under, it makes sense to look at the under in this ballgame. What does New England want to do? All they want to do is slow it down and keep that KC offense off the field. And that will be their game plan, is to keep Mahomes and company sitting on the sidelines. So the under there makes sense. Yes, how much fun is that under going to be to bet? 0. It'd take 5 years off your life betting that under. I'll leave it alone.
It's like betting a basketball under in college basketball. It's always tough to watch, but sometimes they hit, Teddy, but friends don't let friends bet unders, right? That's the saying.
I don't know. We tweeted that yesterday. I saw that on Twitter, and it's a hashtag. And and again, the games last night wasn't the same as the early games, but the early games yesterday, literally, they went 6-1-1 to the over again. And the 2 unders were by the one pushed, depending where you got the number, and the other one came under by a point. And everything else is flying over the total. And you talked about, though, those college basketball totals where, you've got 40 points to spare with 5 minutes to go. And then somebody hits a 3 and then they foul. And somebody hits a 3 and they foul. Somebody hits a 3. And next thing you know, that 40 points, this cushion of a dead nuts under dies. That doesn't happen in the NFL all the time, but it happens sometimes. And when it does, you tend to remember it.
All right. Well, guys, we got the NFL opening line report each and every Monday, 10:05 a.m. Pacific time. This week, week 5 here, Teddy, starting off Thursday night, October 8th, Tampa Bay at Chicago. We're seeing the Bucks -5, -5.5, 44.5 being the total. Short week here on the road, still laying points. Interested in your opinion on this one, Teddy.
Sure. And look, there's a lot to talk about today. So I apologize if I'm all over the map. But let's start with what we do with every single line on this show. I'm going to give you the look-ahead line. I'm going to give you my power rating number. I'm going to give you the opener, and then we're going to talk about where the openers are moving. So the look-ahead line, this is a bettable line last week on this game. I use the Westgate as the openers, and then I go through on Sunday morning before the game starts and take a broader market view of what it looks like. So it opened 3 at the Westgate and got bet up to 3.5 for Tampa. My power rating number on the game is Tampa minus 3.5, and here it's open 5.5. I don't think it's going to go a whole lot higher. There was a lot not to like about the Bucs yesterday. You know, Brady keeps throwing pick sixes. That's a problem. Okay, that's a legit problem. Staring down his wide receivers, that's a problem. The offensive line didn't give him a ton of pressure. That was his first 29 pass attempts. He had 106 yards. That's Tom Brady. You know, they couldn't run the football. It was all dink and dunk. And then what happened? The Chargers are like, oh, we don't want to win this game. You guys do it. You know, and Brady got hot. You know, Bruce Arians, quote, Tom, he's never behind in his mind. We can always make plays to win games. You know, wide receiver Scotty Miller. How can you not believe in him? He's the greatest to ever do it. We just go in there and follow his lead. Bruce Arians. We knew he had played poorly. It was just a show of character. I can honestly say that if this had been last year, would have gotten beat by 20. This team has a ton of character and playmakers, and we started making plays. You can see that when we don't beat ourselves, we're going to be a tough team to beat. I agree with all of that. I also agree, that, look, I'm no Nick Foles fan. All right, the Bears had 269 yards of offense yesterday, only 28 rushing yards in that ball game. They had penalties. It was all the bad Chicago that we've seen. Matt Nagy. There was never really a rhythm in the game. And again, everyone's like, oh, Nick Foles, he's the answer for Mitch Trubisky. Nick Foles looked exactly like Mitch Trubisky. I think he looked worse because Trubisky's at least a threat to scramble. Foles after the game, I have to be better. I have to be more crisp. It's as simple as that. I'm going to look forward to improving. I'm not buying it. But again, this line is higher than I thought it was going to be at 5.5. I don't think we see a lot of Chicago money. There are already some sixes popping up at the at a variety of books. I say this line 5.5, 6, maybe on game day it goes up. Total wise, sitting 44.5, which hasn't moved. It moved a little bit down from the opener. I don't anticipate a big move on this total either.
Yeah, it was interesting. Bears backers wanting Trubisky to be taking snaps there at the end was kind of interesting how that worked out there, Teddy. We got.
Let me jump in. I got one more quote that I forgot to give you. This is important. It's a Phillip Rivers quote talking about playing in Chicago. Okay. Quote. And again, home fields were worth nothing in the NFL yesterday, 0. And I debated when I was making my numbers, do I make a home field 0 or 1? And some teams I used a 0 and some teams I used a 1. But this is worthy of the quote from Phillip Rivers about playing at Soldier Field. Quote, I thought we brought a lot more energy than they did. I just felt that from our sidelines, it was weird. It was different. We did the mock game in an empty stadium, obviously, in training camp. That helped. Some of these home fields are negative right now. Bears might be one.
Okay. Can you think of a fundamental reason why? Or it's just they're not getting hyped up for home games?
When you run out into the stadium and hear that crowd going nuts, all right, you get juiced a little bit. You know, I mean, you're an athlete. You know what it's like. Absolutely. I was never a good athlete, but even in the little stuff that I played, when the crowd goes, the adrenaline flows. And when you're playing a 3 to 3.5 hour football game, you need various jolts of adrenaline throughout the course of the game. The crowd naturally produces that for the players. Without the crowd, they have to generate their own energy, and it just doesn't work the same way. Negative home field. Again, go up and down the card yesterday. Find me a home field that was worth something. 1. They really weren't worth any.
I can't think of one off the top of my head. I mean, it's a great point there, Teddy. We got the Sunday games, though, coming up next, guys. October 11th here, 1 o'clock Eastern kicks. We're going to get after it here. 4-5-1, 4-5-2. Carolina at Atlanta. Talking about home field advantages. I don't know. Mercedes-Benz here, -3.5, -4. That's the Falcons laying at home. Limited marketplace for the total here, Teddy, 51. Of course, Atlanta playing tonight, and we talk about correlated bets. If you like the Falcons tonight, maybe look to kind of place both bets here on the Falcons. Likewise, if you're not liking the Falcons tonight, Teddy, do you think that's an effect? And also your thoughts on this Carolina Atlanta line?
Yeah, there's a handful of games that we don't have full lines on because one team plays tonight, another team plays tonight, or there are COVID questions. There's literally, I think 5 games on the card that we don't have totals for, and we just need to be aware of that and do with it, what we will. Look ahead line here was Atlanta -3.5. It largely moved to 4 prior to yesterday. My power rating on the game is pick 'em. I'm off market on Carolina. I know that. And I think apparently I'm off market on Atlanta because the line tonight doesn't mesh with what my line for Atlanta is either. But when you have a defense that can't get stops and a coach who's going to get fired after the next loss, I'm not exactly excited or could get fired. It's something that I'm not looking for reasons to lay points with Atlanta right now. Carolina, the last 2 games are nothing fraudulent. They've been the better team. They were the better team yesterday. Matt Rule sure looks to be bet on at the NFL level every bit the way he was at the college level. And when you look at the drives yesterday, dominating time of possession, 13-play scoring drive, 9-play scoring drive, 10-play scoring drive, 8-play scoring drive, 15-play scoring drive, keeping the opposing offense off the field. That's exactly the same game plan that they would want to use against Atlanta. And it also perhaps plays well for under bettors in that regard. Bridgewater after the game yesterday, quote, we didn't come in saying we wanted to keep the ball away from those guys. We just came in with an aggressive mindset. We came away with winning the time of possession battle. I would anticipate they will continue to try to do that. And as a result, maybe you look at some under for Carolina, Atlanta once this total comes out. And you can be confident that whatever number is going to come out for the Falcons, it's going to be really high.
Yeah, Carolina, one of the better surprises in the NFL out the gate. We got 453, 454 Las Vegas at Kansas City up next here, Teddy. Again, a limited marketplace with Kansas City playing tonight. We're seeing -11 in the hook, -12, 56 being the total.
And this has been a no mover. Was it 11.5 was the look ahead line. It got bet up to 12 during the week. We're looking at 12s right now. My powering number on the game is 12. Interesting quotes from the Raiders after the loss yesterday. Carr, I'm sick of losing. I'm sick of working as hard as I do and as hard as we do and going out there and losing. I mean, it sucks. Enough is enough. The things that are hurting us in these games, in these close games, it's not them, it's us. That's the hard part to swallow. Carr had a big game yesterday, 32, 44, 311, 2 touchdowns. He hasn't thrown an interception in 144 pass attempts this season, but he keeps losing fumbles. He's lost 4 fumbles, lost 4 fumbles in the fourth quarter this season. Sorry, the Raiders have lost 4. Carr's lost 3 of them. And it's been, obviously a difference maker in these relatively close games. And the Raiders -4 turnovers in the fourth quarter. -4 turnovers in the fourth quarter. That's the worst in the NFL. Carr, me being here, my 7th year, I've seen too much crap. I've seen a whole bunch of crap, if I'm just being honest with you. Is it going to take my positivity and my joy away? Absolutely not. I'm going to be me regardless. But is it okay for me to be a little hot, a little pissed sometimes? Yeah. And I think this is one of those moments. We want the Raiders to be mad. That's a bet on quote from Derek Carr. They are, however, a team that has significant injury concerns. LaMarcus Joyner went down yesterday. That's one position, cornerback, that they cannot afford another injury. They might have the weakest wide receiving core in the league. One of them, along with Philadelphia or Jacksonville. They had 3 receivers out yesterday, 2 offensive line out with injuries. Their tackling's no good. There are issues for the Raiders. If the Chiefs look good tonight, I wouldn't be shocked if this number comes 13.5 or 14.
You got Denver, New England up next. Patriots -10, -11 at home. Limited marketplace here, Teddy. No totals available.
Yeah, and again, when we go through these lines, we're seeing more favorites of a touchdown plus, a lot of double-digit favorites this week. There are a lot of mismatches in the NFL this week. So it's one of those weeks where you got to tread carefully and figure out which favorites are going to show up and which dogs are going to show up. And this, has that, potential of a mismatch game. Look ahead line here. And again, this was pre Newton getting the Newton information came out Friday? So it opened 10, got bet up to 11, and it's sitting at 11 now, even with the possibility of a Hoyer going to start.
Yeah, that's weird.
But it speaks volumes about what the markets think about Denver's win against the New York Football Jets last week. My powering number on the game is 9. That is a non-Cam Newton number. Vic Fangio. Winning has cured more ills than penicillin after the wins yesterday. Bradley Chubb. It just makes you hungry for the next win. Of course, they sacked Sam Darnold 6 times in that ball game. They're probably not going to get to New England 6 times in that contest. And, of course, Brett Ripien, here's the quote from Fangio after the game. Well, it was up and down. I thought there were some good things. We had some big plays, which is always important. Throwing 3 interceptions, you're not going to win many times in this league, but we found a way to win tonight in spite of that. That's true. That was against the Jets. Belichick's track record against inexperienced quarterbacks is legitimately second to none. And that is certainly a factor in this point spread, although Denver's defense has been pretty good. And if New England looks ugly tonight, this line's not coming 11.
And Teddy, when you were talking about the big favorites here, a lot of double-digit favorites, did you mean that more in the totals in the NFL are going up, therefore favorites are going to be kind of getting a little bit more, I guess, favorability here? Or is it just speaking to particularly this week?
It's just speaking to particularly this week in terms of the numbers on the game. There's a lot of mismatch games this week. There's a lot. Okay. And again, in a year with little to no home field edge, to see this many games priced at a touchdown or higher just says it's one of those schedule anomalies where there's just, for whatever reason, a lot of mismatches.
Okay.
Or mismatches in theory on paper.
Okay. And we got another one here, 457, 458. This one flirting with double digits. LA Rams at the Washington football team, 46 being the total, and it looks like -9 pretty much across the board with the Rams laying on the road.
Yeah, and we will have 2 emergency betting alerts later in the show.
Okay.
We have nothing right now with this. I mean, the look ahead line was 9.5. My powering number is 9. The market's open 9 and 46, and it's basically we've seen very little movement on this one. I gotta say, even though the Washington football team snuck in under the closing number yesterday, I mean, that was a complete mismatch. The Washington looks worse as the season's gone on. And that, I think, has something to do. I mean, look, their head coach is going through chemo right now. And he's not right. Ron Rivera, here's his quote yesterday. Obviously, I had my moments where I felt pretty strong. Other times I waned a little bit. I took 2 bags. This is the coach. I took 2 bags of IV fluids before the game. I would sit down at TV timeouts. I normally don't. I look forward to getting home and going to bed early.
Jeez.
That's Washington's head coach right now, first-year head coach. At one point yesterday, they had a rookie quarterback, a rookie running back, a rookie fullback, a rookie wide receiver, rookies on the – I mean, it is the youngest offense in the NFL. Their coach is a mess. There's talent. But right now, if I'm ranking quarterbacks, Haskins is 32 out of 32. Who's worse than Haskins right now? And I went through. I'm like, well, man. I was
Hoyer?
trying to come up with
Hoyer, if you're counting.
He's not the starter. I mean, he's
right.
Yeah, he's the worst starting quarterback in the NFL.
Okay.
And a good quote from the Rams after the loss yesterday. First, here's one from Jared Goff talking about the Giants. And again, it wasn't a pretty game for the Rams yesterday. Goff. I thought their defense played really well and should get a lot more credit than they have been. Worth noting. One of those things that you stand out. LA, 240 yards total offense yesterday. Went 45 minutes between scoring. Sean McVay, we just couldn't get in a rhythm offensively, but the defense did a great job. We were probably a little more conservative than I would have liked to have been offensively, but we couldn't get anything going in the run game. But here's the quote that I wanted to bring up. Aaron Donald. Being 3-1, it's still a good start. Definitely made mistakes, but I'd rather fix things off of winning instead of off a loss. Now, the third trip to the Rams back east in the last 4 weeks, I think the markets are reacting to that, but LA's A game can pummel Washington. This is one road favorite. I might be interested.
Yeah, Teddy, good point in terms of 3 out of 4 heading back east. That could, that factoring in is something to note on that.
Well, the markets are going to react to that. And this line's
Okay.
not going to go to 10, 10.5 because of that, I would think. And again, so far, we've seen no indication that this line is moving anywhere off a 9. And, Circa's down to 8.5 on that game now. So, the money is, the Rams are not going to be the wise guy choice this week. And when we talk about line moves and where the lines are going to go, that's one of the things I want to pay attention to is who the wise guys going to like, because you expect to see money flowing on them throughout the course of the week. And given the situational spot for the Rams, I don't think it comes on this game.
And Teddy, that's another thing, contrasting kind of betting information that, little nuggets that you're throwing out here, talking about Washington football team head coach wanting to go to bed right after the game, LA Rams coming back, for the third time in 4 weeks to the East Coast, these kind of contrasting betting nuggets going at each other. That's one of the things I found the most difficult about sports betting. What matters more when there's arguments for both sides? Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, this isn't easy. Okay. Yeah. Anyone that this is no get rich quick scheme. I've been trying to get rich quick for 20 years. I've done okay, but I ain't, I ain't sitting in a mansion, with my feet up by the pool every day. We're still working hard. There are no easy answers for any of this. And when you try to find easy answers, you can get caught, you can get sucked up in all kinds of things. My best strategy is I'm a grinder. My philosophy is always going to be to grind. What do? If we go 2-1 this week, guess what? We made a profit. We get on the next week. If we go 2-1 next week, that's fine. We made a profit, move on to the next week. That's what I'm trying to do. It's just a matter of whatever information that I can give. Sometimes I give out info. I do a show and I'm like, I like this, that, and the other. And someone else listens to it. It's like, dude, you like this, that, and the other. You didn't even talk about it, but in your words, I heard you say that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that sometimes I don't even know that I'm talking about that I have opinions on. And it comes out over the course of the show. That's why this show is really helpful for me as well as for you. I mean, I don't know if it's helpful for you guys. I hope it's helpful. And judging by the fact that we have a decent audience, I think that it is helpful for a lot of people. But it's helpful for me because it lets me kind of get my thoughts out all at once on this. And that's a part of my process. I'm going to do this mentally or verbally 3 or 4 times throughout the course of the week. Where you go through every game and what do you think about it? What do you do? And kind of go through your own personal check before the plays come out. And that's just my process. So it helps my process. Thanks for the great feedback, guys. I really appreciate all the positive comments. I really do.
Yeah. I second that as well, guys. And don't let Teddy Covers fool you. I've been to his house multiple times. Nice house, South Las Vegas, beautiful family. He's done very well for himself. And also, guys, check him out, WagerTalkSportsMemo.com. He's 52-36. That's 59% all sports last 2 months. Up over 50% return on investment. College football, 58% year to date. So it doesn't only know NFL there, guys. Both the college and NFL gridiron and NBA last 8 weeks, 30-14, 68%. So check them out there, WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Teddy, we got next game up here, Jacksonville at Houston, 459-460 here. Looks like 54 being the total. Houston -6, -6.5 hosting the Jags.
And there's another line that's doing nothing right now. Look ahead line was 6.5. My powering number is 6.5. The market's open 6.5. So we're all in the same boat on this one. Jacksonville was pretty rough yesterday. They were pretty rough the week before. They ranked, I think, they went into the game ranked number 31 in the NFL in 20-plus yard plays. I think that they ended up at the end of the game as number 32. In terms of offensive explosive plays, they're not getting any. They allowed 205 rushing yards to Cincinnati yesterday. You want to look for a red flag, that's a red flag. They lost starting cornerback C.J. Henderson. He left with a shoulder injury, didn't come back. Miles Jack left with an ankle injury. He got ruled out. The quarterback, DJ Hayden, left in the second half and didn't return. And Gardner Minshew, we talked about, the weakest NFL starting quarterbacks, whether it's Dwayne Haskins, whether it's Gardner Minshew. They're at this, I put Minshew up a little bit ahead of Haskins, but not much. Jacksonville's rough. The Texans are rough. They're the dead last in the NFL in run defense, give 162 yards to the ground. The quotes after the game, J.J. Watt. This is terrible. It's brutal. It's depressing. It sucks. It sucks. I don't know any other way to put it. The wide receivers aren't getting open. They're struggling in the red zone. The running game hasn't been there. More than any other factor, 4 games so far into the season, defense created this many turnovers. Goose egg, none. Are these problems that Houston can solve? Maybe. Again, they faced a brutal schedule, brutal the first 3 weeks, and then Minnesota played great in that game yesterday. We'll talk about the Vikings in a minute. But offensively, I mean, Minnesota was as good as I've seen them so far this season, back-to-back games. I mean, what was the difference in yesterday's game? Houston goes 0 for 3 in the red zone and then turns scoring touchdowns. Minnesota scores 4 touchdowns and 5 red zone tries. I don't see that as a long-term problem for the Texans necessarily, but if you can't run and your receivers aren't getting open, you know what that team misses? DeAndre Hopkins. That's what they miss. Right now, this line's doing nothing. I don't anticipate it going anywhere right off the bat.
All right, Teddy, next game up, 461, 462, Buffalo, Tennessee. Not sure what you want to do with this. Talk about real limited marketplaces here. Not seeing many numbers.
Yeah, there's no marketplace here. There was no look-ahead line on this game. For what it's worth, my power rating number, assuming a healthy Titans team, is pick 'em.
Okay.
And there's basically nothing in the marketplace right now. Let's talk a little bit about Buffalo, and then we'll move on to the next one because I don't know if this game gets played. I don't know if this game gets played on time. Josh Allen is obviously a nice coming out party this year. The clients and I have a big ticket bet on the Bills over their season win total. So far, so good with that one. Buffalo is not a surprise for me. We've already been on the Bills a couple of times this season. They're averaging number 3 in the NFL, 31 points a game, 4-0 start for the first time in 12 years. John Gruden. I'm always interested in the quotes from the other coach. John Gruden. You watch Buffalo's offense. They do a lot. Their quarterback can complete passes left-handed. The guy's a beast standing back there. They got a pretty good attack. Defensively, the Bills rallied back. Sorry, they didn't rally back, but the Raiders had rallied to cut the game to 17-16, and then boom, Buffalo's defense stepped up, which they hadn't been able to do in either of their 2 previous games. Punt, fumble, downs, and another fumble to close out the game for that Bills defense. Safety Jordan Poyer. We were talking all week. We got to find ways to make plays. The first half, we couldn't get off the field on 3rd down. Second half, we fought some ways to get stops and take the football away. I think that changed the game dramatically. Yeah, I saw someone. I didn't see exactly what the you were posting some of the quotes from the chat room in there. Someone said about the Texans being 0-4.
Mm-hmm.
What was what
Pie guy?
Yeah. Yeah, the Dolphins have their first second-round pick. Yeah, no doubt. That being said, at 0-4, recognize who the Texans have played.
Oh, for sure.
They played Chiefs, Ravens, Steelers, and the Vikings. Some of the Vikings were playing like their hair was on fire. I have not downgraded Houston to bottom feeder, and I won't downgrade Houston to bottom feeder. Again, my power number in the game is 6.5, and I'd be much more inclined to lay with the Texans this week than I would be to take with the Jaguars.
All right, Teddy, and we got a bet here from Guitar Rat saying he thinks Arizona is the first doodly oop. We'll see here. 463, 464. Up next, Arizona at the New York Jets. 47.5 being the total. -6.5 Arizona on the road.
So it should be a doodly oop. And in fact, although this is the issue, I'm not convinced the Cards are going to get the love that they got. The Cards got a lot of love in the markets last week, and they got a love the week before. And I'm not convinced they get that kind of love. But no one's betting the Jets. No one's betting the Jets for any reason.
Because people remember what they saw last the most, right?
It doesn't matter what you've seen from the Jets this season. They've been awful in every game. Awful. And not a team that is playing like they care. Look ahead line here, 8.5 bet down to 8. My powering number is 9.5. The markets are at 6.5. One would think that the money would come for Arizona, and it's worth a doodly oop, and I missed it, and I appreciate Guitar Rat coming in and saying it because there's truth to that. If you like Arizona -6.5, it's not going lower. It can only go up, so it's not going to hurt you to lock in. But I have to think that, again, when there are issues with Arizona. Let's start with that. All right. I bet against them yesterday. You have DeAndre Hopkins as one big-time weapon. If you can shut down Hopkins, there's no one else that scares you. Andy Isabella's got speed. He never gets open. Fitz is not a threat. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald is not a threat anymore. The defense has been gashed each of the last 2 weeks. Murray's first 26 throws. Kyler Murray, chuck it downfield, Kyler Murray. First 26 throws, he had 110 yards. He finished with 133. Hopkins has got a foot injury, 41 passing yards last week. The pass rush was all over Arizona. Kingsbury for the second straight week has a quote where it's all about him. We didn't play well enough or coach any well enough in any phase. They did. They played well, and we didn't match their intensity at the start, coaching-wise, playing-wise. I got to check and see what Arizona's done, just flying back and forth, back east. And some of these are, Arizona's statistical profile doesn't wow you either. No one's betting the Jets, but I'm not convinced that the Cardinals are going to be a super popular choice. But the point is valid. Arizona at 6.5, it's not going to go down. You can lock in and hold, and it'll hold, or there's a decent chance it goes up. Penny has a 7 right now, for what it's worth, and they're usually a leading indicator book. There was another 7 that I saw out there that's worth noting. Bovada has a 7. Bovada always has a 7. I'm the favorite. If you're trying to bet chalk at Bovada, good luck to you. You're getting the worst of the number just about every week.
And Teddy, when I brought up at the beginning, people remember what they saw last. I was talking about the Arizona side, and coming into this season, they were a sexy pick and they won a couple games right out the gate. But the last 2 weeks, losing both straight up and ATS, I believe, and like you said, they took money each week, so a lot of people lost with them. That might be the thing that keeps them off this week, taking money, right?
Yeah, exactly. When a team is hot in the betting markets back-to-back weeks and they lose for their backers back-to-back weeks, they're not usually as hot the third week. But I know that there's nobody out there betting the Jets. The wise guys haven't found the price point they want to bet. I guess they did last week. They bet the Jets against Denver. I don't know if they're going to be another price point that the wise guys are like, yeah, let's load up on the Jets this week. Hard to picture that.
Makes total sense. And guys, it's the NFL opening line report each and every Monday. Sports Memo podcast, wherever you're downloading your podcasts at, it's their NFL opening line report. Also simulcast on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Next game up here, Teddy, we got 465, 466, still 1 o'clock Eastern kicks here. Philadelphia at Pittsburgh. We got in-state rivalry here with the Steelers laying 7 or 7 in the hook at home, 45.5 being the total.
Yeah, look-ahead line here was 7. My powering number is 6.5. The markets open 7, and we've seen a couple of 7.5s pop up, but it's certainly not the prevailing number right now. There's mostly 7s out there. Total of 46 at the open has been bet down. It's worth noting. When a total gets bet down, you got to pay attention because there haven't been a whole lot of them, but that total has been bet down early. Philly got a win they needed yesterday. Do we give them credit? I'll give them credit for making plays in the fourth quarter, I guess. Does it change my powering of the Eagles very much? No. That is the team, again, no wide receivers, no offensive line, no secondary. And they played another team with no receivers, no offensive line, and no secondary, and a backup quarterback, which helped them escape with the victory in terms of beating the 49ers. But Philly, from an injury standpoint, it doesn't get a lot uglier than what's happened to the Eagles over the first month of the season. And that doesn't change going into Pittsburgh, even though the Steelers have an unexpected bye week. That may help them as opposed to hurt them.
Teddy, next game up, we got Cincinnati. The Bengals off of I don't want to say a good win, but a win, and at Baltimore here. Baltimore laying near 2 touchdowns, minus 13.5 at home, 52 being the total.
Look headline was 13. My powering number is 11.5. The markets are, as you said, 13.5, total of 52. Since he's outplaying the markets right now, they outplayed him the week before. They outplayed him yesterday. And yesterday, that was a team, they had a bunch of adversity in that game. They had a touchdown call back on a holding penalty, settled for 3. Then Burrow threw interception in the end zone. And again, it wasn't a bad pass. The guy made an incredible play to break it down. But when you're a team like the Bengals, and all of a sudden, that's where you have a TD call back in the first drive, and then you throw an interception in the end zone, and then another drive, and then Jacksonville's taking a lead. For Cincinnati, you've seen enough of the Bengals. You're like, oh boy, here it goes. That wasn't the way it was, Burrow ended up throwing to 7 different receivers in the first 20 minutes of the game. 7 receivers caught passes. Mixon was breaking tackles. The receiving core for Cincinnati is scary good. You know, they had 4 plays at 20-plus yards going in to yesterday. They had 7 in the ball game yesterday. They rolled up 505 yards of offense. And the offensive line, which has been a problem, and again, maybe it's Jacksonville, but it's as good as the Bengals have gotten better week by week. Baltimore yesterday, you know, I love one last quote from Burrow, worth noting. After he got sacked 8 times in that loss against Philly, quote, he was sacked once yesterday. The offensive line played really, really well today. They've taken a lot of heat the last couple of weeks, and I was super happy to those guys to have the game they did today, and they're going to continue to build on it. I know they are. Bet on quotes from Cincinnati. And again, the Ravens, they didn't do a whole lot against Washington yesterday. Washington had more first downs. They had an edge of time in possession. They lost by 2 touchdowns and still had only 7 fewer yards than Baltimore. But the Ravens did the right teams at the right time. You know, they forced a fumble. They had a fake punt. They had Lamar Jackson, the longest run of his career. Harbaugh after the game, we didn't have gigantic plays, but we had conversion plays. 17 straight games in which the Ravens defense forced at least 1 turnover. Longest current streak in the NFL. They do have some injuries on the offensive line right now. That's a concern for Baltimore. And again, the Ravens got there yesterday. They won comfortably and easily. I still thought they were hungover from that Kansas City game, and I'm not. My opinion on Baltimore and watching them yesterday on the same flaws that were there against KC. I've been downgrading Baltimore power rating wise, and I'm not really excited about laying a double-digit price with them here. And again, my power rating number is 11.5. The market's 2 point higher than that. I want to see some quotes from Cincy, how they respond to a victory, because if they come out, hey, yeah, we won last week, they'll get destroyed in this game. But the Bengals on my short list to look at for this coming Sunday.
Teddy, next game up, fascinating handicap here. We're talking the Miami Dolphins at the San Francisco 49ers. We're seeing 49ers laying 8.5 with no totals available in the limited marketplace, Teddy.
Yeah, this is about Garoppolo. We don't know if Garoppolo is going to play. Look headline was 8.5. The market's opened 8.5. My power rating without Garoppolo is 5.5. Though I do think he would warrant an adjustment in the at least 2 to 3 point range, but my number's a little bit lower on San Fran. But I'm going to talk about the 49ers and their issues at quarterback. I mean, San Fran's got injuries everywhere. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not just 1 or 2 or 3 or 5. That's an injury. They're like Philadelphia in terms of the injuries that have decimated that team, and I don't want to overvalue them. And again, the market's had them 2 touchdowns wrong last night against Philly. I'm not convinced the adjustments are necessarily going to be there right from the get-go. I mean, yesterday, Miami, frustrating loss if you had the Dolphins plus the points. They certainly were on a wrong side. The defense there were a couple of breakdowns, including with a big one right before halftime that gave Seattle a cheap touchdown. And more than anything, they struggled in the red zone, which is something that hasn't been a problem for them. Ryan Fitzpatrick after the game, the story of the day was being able to move the ball effectively and not being able to do anything in the red zone, whether it was a penalty or poor execution or a bad read by me. I felt like there were a lot of guys on our team that played well enough to win. I, unfortunately, was not one of them. Concerning note for Miami, Fitzpatrick, their leading rusher. You don't want your quarterback as leading rusher when your quarterback's Ryan Fitzpatrick. Dolphins got to be able to figure out how to run the football. But San Fran right now, they are a fundamentally flawed team, not a team I'm looking to lay 8.5 with. And I'm surprised that the markets are as high. But again, there's a couple of books have a lineup for this game. Most books waiting until we have more news on the San Francisco injury situation.
And Teddy, handicapping question here on the 49ers. People talk about in the NFL injuries mattering, but cluster injuries mattering even more. Are the 49ers injuries, from what you research, in your opinion, are they spread out enough to where it's not clustering to where it will really kill them?
Did you watch them last night? Okay, they have no receivers. None. Okay,
right, but they're injured so many other positions.
I know. But okay, so about one, they have. Let me pull. I really haven't pulled up their injury report this morning, but the answer is yes. They have cluster injury problems in the secondary. They have cluster injury problems at wide receiver. That's 2 that stand out. They have cluster injury problems on the offensive line as well. So it's not just injuries; it's cluster injuries. And that is an enormous. I mean, I've got San Fran power rated as a medium middle of the pack team right now. And I might have them power rated too high.
I mean, they're laying more than a touchdown here. It seems pretty wild to me. That's kind of the reason I asked the question, is because if they are having cluster injuries, which I knew the wide receiver one, the secondary, the offensive line cluster injuries, that would be almost like the worst you could ask for in terms of, producing the following week. But laying more than a touchdown here, I get it. Miami's got to go cross country. It's just surprising to me.
There's, and again, there's a decent chance Garoppolo comes back this week.
Okay.
And Mullins was rough yesterday, and we got benched for the third stringer, by the end of the ball game. But there's San Fran coming into the season is a really deep team. Yeah. In terms of depth, the 49ers are as good as anyone. Not anymore. But you want to pay attention to San Fran off a loss. But again, you look at roles, coaches in their roles. Shanahan is home chalk. That ain't his role.
Good stuff from Teddy Covers on Twitter at Teddy_covers. Work at Sports Memo and WagerTalk.com. Guys, it is $9 Monday. Check out both websites. All plays discounted to just $9. It's not only the plays kicking today or first pitching today. It's for all week as well. Discounted there. Sports Memo and WagerTalk.com. Next game up here, Teddy, 471-472 NFC East here. 54 being the total. Talking New York Giants at the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys laying 9.5 in Jerry's World.
Yeah, look ahead line here was 11 and bet up to 11.5 for Dallas. Even while the markets were pounding Cleveland against Dallas, they were still betting on Dallas against the Giants the following week, which is worth noting. My powering number is 7.5 on the Cowboys in this game, and the markets are at 9.5. So it's kind of in between my powering number, the market number, or the look-ahead number versus my powering number, and the market's right in between 11.5, 7.5, and the markets are at 9.5 right now. The Giants have scored 3 touchdowns in 4 games. If they continue that level of offensive production against Dallas, they will not win or cover, because the Cowboys are a threat to score 40 in every game. That said, I talked about the quotes from Jared Goff about facing this Giants defense earlier in the show. The Giants linebacker Blake Martinez, quote, "That's the type of team we want to be in terms of the defense." But at the end of the day, they held LA to 240 yards. At the end of the day, it's a production league, and getting wins is what we want. We are not going to be satisfied until that happens. And of course, the Giants offense stalled in the red zone 3 different times and kicked 3 field goals. And then had their chance at the end of the game and couldn't convert there either. But, for Dallas, when you're, again, Prescott throws 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. They convert all 3 of their 2-point conversions. They gain 4.7 yards per rush, and they lose at home by double digits. Okay, that's Dallas right now. He became the first NFL quarterback in history to have 450 passing yards in 3 straight games, and they won 1 of them. Prescott's got 5 turnovers the last 2 games. Oh, by the way, starting center got hurt. Joe Looney got hurt. Yeah, now they have a rookie starting center in Tyler Biadasz. And they gave up 307 rushing yards. And if you think I'm laying more than a touchdown against a team that gave up 307 rushing yards, And again, Nick Chubb got hurt. I was like, oh, Chubb got hurt. Kareem Hunt hasn't practiced all week. Didn't matter. Hunt came in and ripped that defense apart. You can't lay points with teams that don't play defense. And again, the quotes out of the Giants, there's dumber bets to make right now than taking the Giants to win the NFC East or the Washington football team to win the NFC East, because the favorites in that division are flawed. And when you get big plus prices, ridiculous plus prices on a division where nobody's any good, if Danny Dimes can figure it out, the Giants can win this division. 3 touchdowns in 4 games isn't going to cut it, though. Not against a team like Dallas. I'm leaning G-Men right off the get-go. The markets aren't going there. Let's see if we see 10s in this game. I'm not convinced that we will. 9.5, the prevailing number.
Teddy, we got 473, 474 up next. Indianapolis at Cleveland, 47.5 being the total. Indianapolis -2.5, -3. Do you want me to sound the alarm now?
Right here, right now.
Doodle-oo, doodle-oo.
Doodly-oo, doodly-oo, doodly-oo. Yeah, if you like Indy, get down at 2.5 right now. This is why. The markets are going to react to statistics. When you look, and again, I understand they played nobody. When you look at the Colts defense statistics, you're like, holy shit, this is the best defense in the NFL. And we saw that against Chicago yesterday. I know the final score was 19-11. That was a dominant game. All right. Dominant for Indy. Linebacker Anthony Walker. I really believe in what we're doing. I think all the guys in the team buy into that. That's special. I think that's what we have brewing over here right now. I think we have something really special brewing on defense. Again, they played no one. We don't know if this defense is any good. But on paper, they're good. They've dominated 4 straight weak opponents. They're number 1 in the NFL in every defensive category. Go up and down the card. You're going to see Indy, 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 Indy. You know, Phillip Rivers been awful. All right, Rivers awful yesterday. He looked 150 years old. But Rivers quote, we didn't do the dumb things. We didn't turn the ball over 3 times. We didn't do a lot of those things. So that is the key. A lot to build on. Certainly a lot of things we need to do better. Worth noting, and this could be an impact injury, Darius Leonard, Pro Bowler, key player on the Indy on the defensive side of the football. He left yesterday with a groin injury. It's worth noting. That being said, this line ain't going down. It can only go up. And when we're talking about the key numbers, I'm always interested in getting you guys on the right side of the key numbers. At 2.5, given the defensive profile for the Indianapolis Colts, one has to think that line is more likely to move to 3 than any other factor. Lots to like about the Browns yesterday. No question. You know, I mean, Myles Garrett's been a monster for them. But it's been 19 years since the Browns went 3-1 in their first 4 games. Okay, a little bit of rarefied air for that team. And Indy deserves, again, based on the statistical profiles, the Colts deserve to be road favorites here. And there's a chance, again, I'm not saying it will, but if you like Indy, lock in at 2.5 right here. It looks like the signs of the markets are going to move to 3. Much like the earlier game where we talked about where, you want to get this sooner rather than later, just in case, because the markets are already moving.
Guys, got 2 games left here, the Sunday Nighter and the Monday Nighter. Sunday Nighter up first, 475, 476. Minnesota at Seattle, seeing the Seahawks -7 at home, 57.5 or 58 being the total, Teddy.
Yeah, there's still a handful of 7.5s out there. I don't think they're going to last. I had this as my second doodly-oop. Doodly-oop. Because
Doodly-oop? Doodly-oop?
Yeah. An hour ago when I was making my doodly-oops, these were, there were 7.5s out there. I'm like, those are not going to hold. And unfortunately, they haven't held. There are still a couple of them out there. Okay. But if you do like Minnesota, grab a 7.5. Search for a 7.5 right now. They still exist. There are not many of them. I do my best. Again, the show is when it is. I can't do anything about the line moves before we get on air. But I was hoping that would hold, that the 7.5 would hold because, but they haven't. So that's that. Look ahead line on the game was 9. My powering number on the game, 5.5. So we have seen some Minnesota support in the markets, and I'm still not. Again, the Seahawks have gotten this great start. I'm with you on Seattle. Great start. Their defense stinks, and you can't lay points with teams with bad defense. And then in a home field that is huge in Seattle, there are no home fields that are huge for Seattle. Worth noting, Seahawks 4-0, only one other time in franchise history they've done that. That's also the only time in franchise history they won the Super Bowl. Also worth noting for Seattle, the conditions in Miami yesterday. It was 100 degrees in that game. And they were on the field a lot. The defense was on the field a fair bit. Russell Wilson, it was a tough day today just because it was so hot out there. We being in the Pacific Northwest, guys just kept battling. I wonder if that has an effect, a lingering effect on Seattle in the back end. And again, there was a lot to like about Minnesota yesterday. There's still a team that has some issues, a lot of issues. On the defense side of the football, they've got enormous issues. Although they should, Harrison Smith got thrown out of the game for helmet-to-helmet contact, and he was basically their last defensive leader, and the defense stayed okay without him. He should be back this week. Kirk Cousins, quote, you have to string wins together one game isn't going to do anything for us. Certainly, it's nice to get a win and get headed in the right direction, but each week is its own entity, and we've got to be able to string them together for it to mean something. That's what's ahead for us. I will say this. When you talk about skill position talent, Dalvin Cook is scary, and Justin Jefferson right now is scary. Back-to-back 100-yard games, and all of a sudden, this Minnesota team got some real weapons, along with Thielen, et cetera, et cetera. We saw Cousins able to get the ball into his weapons' hands yesterday. That may work well against the Seahawks defense that, to me, looks a fair bit vulnerable. Again, if you like the 7.5, get it. That's a no. There aren't many left, but get it now. They won't be there.
Guys, we got one game left. Reminder, this is the NFL opening line report. He's Teddy Covers on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I am Drew Martin on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. Guys, check out Teddy Covers' work at WagerTalk and Sports Memo. He's 58% in college football year to date, 30 and 14, 68% in NBA the last 8 weeks. And of course, in the NFL since 2015, he's 195 and 151. That's 56% over the last 5+ years in the NFL, beating the marketplace. Check him out. Also, guys, if you're watching on replay on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, please leave a comment below. Let us know what you're thinking. And also, please smash the like button. It does help us out. And love when people kind of throw out different locations where they're watching here, Teddy. We've seen India, England, Mexico City, all kinds of places all over the world. So that's really cool, too. If you're watching live right now, let us know in the chat box. If you're watching from anywhere, really cool. We'll get it out there to everybody. Teddy, we got the Monday Nighter here, 477, 478. LA Chargers at the New Orleans Saints, 52 being the total. We're seeing the Saints -7 in the hook at home in the Big Easy.
Look headline, 7.5. My powering number only 4.5 on this game. The market's at 7.5. So my powering number, I think I'm a little off market on both teams. There was a lot to like about the Chargers yesterday, man. There really was. They were missing 5 starters, and the defense was flying around making plays. When that defense steps up, they're scary. They owned Brady in the first half of that game, and then all of a sudden Tampa got some momentum, and they wore down, and that was the end of that. Yesterday's loss, the only one guy you can point at that's the head coach. You're up 24-7 with less than a minute to go before halftime. You got to punt back inside your own 10 line, inside your own 10-yard line, and you have a rookie quarterback. What do you do?
Yeah, play it safe.
Take a freaking knee. Okay, you don't think about it. You take a knee. You're up 17 points at the half. Sorry. Whenever you do something else and you have a rookie QB handing off to a rookie running back. Remember, Eckler got hurt, right? Eckler's hurt too now. You have a defense that's dominating. You have an offense that's got that hung 24 in the first half. Your running back's hurt. And you have a BUF exchange, and that leads to literally from that moment, it was a really easy halftime bet, a really easy live game bet because I was like, Tampa's going to come back and win this, and they did. It doesn't get easier than that, frankly. It swung on that one play where the coach should have taken a knee, and that's all on Anthony Lynn. That said, there's rookies all over this offense right now, including at quarterback and at running back and at fullback and at wide receiver. There's a lot to like about Herbert. Quote, we have to get over the hump. We have to learn to close big games. When we're up 17, we can't shoot ourselves in the foot. All that is true. But this is what the Chargers as an organization have done for the last 20 years. If you're a Charger fan, it's not as bad as being a Browns fan or a Jets fan or a Bengals fan or a Lions fan. But it's not that much better. And they're talented enough to do something. As for New Orleans, Peyton, quote, Drew was outstanding. We had them guessing for most of the first half of the game. Our guys did up front, did a really good job at the line of scrimmage. Why is my power rating number so lower than the market's number? Let's see. Well, look at that Saints injury report. Again, they still don't have Michael Thomas. Ryan Ramczyk got hurt yesterday. He's got concussion protocol. Dante Harris got hurt yesterday. He's got concussion protocol. Marcus Davenport didn't play. Marshawn Lattimore didn't play. Janoris Jenkins didn't play. Jared Cook didn't play. Andres Pete didn't play. They're not healthy, and Breeze isn't right. And again, he had a good day yesterday because they were able to run the football with ease against the Lions defense. And when the Breeze has a running game, he's going to win. It's not so easy to run the football against the Chargers. And again, at 7.5, I haven't seen any indications of it yet. I haven't seen any indication, so I'm not going to say emergency betting alert. But in my head, you already know what I think the right side is for next Monday night. I expect to get to the window with it while it's still at 7.5.
All right, guys, look for that one on next Monday nighter. Teddy, that's it for the NFL opening line report. Want to throw out anything before we shut this down?
Dude, thank you. I mean, look, the comments are incredible. We've been doing this show since I've been doing the show in 2003 or 2004 was when we started doing it. And we've always had a decent, this is the biggest audience we've had. So I want to thank you guys for watching. And I want to ask you, tell your friends. If you can, just tell your friends. That's all we're doing. We're really trying to, I think it's a good show. You guys can help us build it. You guys are helping us build it. So thank you. And enjoy the games tonight. Good luck. Like I said, I'm not in action on Monday Night Football tonight, but I understand most of you are. So good luck with any bets that you place this evening.
All right. He's Teddy Covers, guys. Follow him on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Best of luck with your bets. Enjoy the Monday Night Football games tonight. And be safe. Be well. See you next week, Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. NFL Open.